We ready? Right, I'll call the meeting to order here March 11th, 5:30 p.m. The mission statement: engage every student in opportunities to learn, lead, and grow. You gonna go ahead and take roll call? Roll call.
Lang. Here. Coons.
Here.
Alaska.
Here.
Student member Singh Bile. Here. And Farlinger.
Here.
All right, and President Brown and Cassie Rockholtz are both absent.
All right. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming. Got a full meeting here, so we can start off with celebrations of achievement.
So we have an attached document for you to kind of look at, but just a couple highlights of celebrations. We had Lucas Feuerbach take second in the state wrestling tournament. Our middle school and intermediate school raised almost $4,000 for dance marathon. And our K-3 students, as measured by our mid-year benchmark assessment, 85% of them are on pace to gain a year or more growth. So doing well there.
That's great.
Great. I'd like to make a motion to move the informational items to earlier in the meeting, preferably now, in the interest of the time of our presenters.
Got a motion?
Second.
Second by Dan. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose? None. Motion carries. So move that to the next agenda item.
That would be informational items. So Solon Foundation, great. Where'd you like me?
You're good right up in the front and center.
It's just to be succinct for you, but my name is Monty McCarty. I am the president of the Solon Education Foundation and have been with the organization, since my oldest 2015 grad was a freshman. Wonderful organization, and I'm going to give you just a little bit of a background and then share a little bit of message with you about our current status. So the Solon Education Foundation was founded back in 2002 with a bequest from a local resident of $125,000. And it was a Solon family, and they really wanted to see education continue to develop and grow in the district. In addition to the Solon Education Foundation serving as a 501c3 in support of district related partner groups, our annual competitive grant fund has funded over $150,000 in educator and staff initiated projects, most often totally outside of the district's budget, and we're really proud of that impact. And those that have established this over the years have done a really nice job of laying the groundwork. In addition, with careful fiduciary management, we've grown the original endowment to over twice its principal value. As we approach the final phases of our organizational operations, we would like to offer a significant grant opportunity for the teachers in our district with the remaining resources that we have available. We have decided as an organization, after much consideration and talk with legal and tax accountants, decided to sunset this organization. It has been a challenge over the last, since I've been on the board, to continue to recruit folks to the organization. It's a busy time in everybody's life, and it's a busy time in the world. So we have made that decision to make that change to our organization. And over the course of the rest of this calendar year, our fiscal year would be a June 30, 2026. At that date, end of our fiscal year, we would like to have all of our resources spent out to teachers in the district, just as we have before, but in one really large fell swoop of a grant program. We'd like to initiate that here in the coming months to give teachers adequate time to really think big. They're probably used to seeing $5,000 awards maybe, but we've got some, as I shared, significant resources. So we as an organization and myself representing them just wanted to come and share with the school board what our plans were, because I know we've been, partners in, helping the educators, here, but I wanted to have you all be the first to be aware of that status.
Well, thank you, first of all. The sad part for me is, and we've talked about this before, everybody's so busy. And we're losing some great things in our district, and I can't thank you and the board and everything you've done over the last decade essentially. And is there, how will teachers, like, how will we prioritize?
Great question. So we will be communicating with the teachers in the district here very shortly with a kind of a think big grant process, similar to the process they're all used to already, with just a different deadline, but encouraging them to think significantly. And so that is kind of our status, which has been our typical process in the past.
So will it follow the typical August timeline that it has in the past, or you're saying?
Good question.
You could have done that
That's a good question. I think we will look at a fall taking of applications, but we'd like to notify teachers in the district now so they can really be thinking about some opportunities within their group, within their building, within their grade level, whatever that may be.
Monday, I did get your email, I just haven't had a chance.
You're just fine, Josh. Not a problem, not a problem. Thank you.
Is there anything we can do as kind of the board to kind of help, or?
Josh, you have been instrumental in helping share our messaging with the teachers by sharing it in a district-wide email. And I've already reached out to see if that would be something you would help us with again. That's really critical. I've also reached out to Josh, and we'll work on opportunities for us to actually be in a classroom in a district-wide meeting or a professional development day where we can have the attention of as many as possible, and we're all willing to come to those in person to really kind of reiterate some of the language we'll have in an email communication. So
Well, I thought Megan, you did a good job to start off the year, right? With getting in front of people and letting them know there's resources and opportunities there. So, yeah.
yeah, we've had a lot of dedicated folks. Megan included Tom Gross, who's probably just going to be a little late here, but Tom is an inaugural board member, as are Mike Turner, Kevin Lind, and others who have just been in this community for decades. So they really get all the credit. So
Yeah, I think, as a school board member now, the thought to always look forward to is how could this impact school board resources when that, valuable resource is no longer going forward. So thinking as a board on how we absorb or set aside or still have opportunities for these teachers to do valuable projects. And get creative with the way that we are facilitating those to happen.
yeah, great.
Anybody else? Thank you again, though. It's
Thanks for the opportunity to share.
been impactful for sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
See money. Moving on to fiscal year 26 budget.
I'll summarize. Most of you know, this week in the paper Thursday will be the public hearing notice for the one that we're having on the 27th. Just to reiterate, all that is just showing current property taxes, putting them into next year as far as the dollars, showing what the corresponding tax rate would be, and then what the actual tax asking is. Our current tax rate is 1623. I published at 1625. That shows just a reminder, when we publish, we can go lower if you want to. We can never move up from that. Basic information that will be in the paper then in the end of March, early April. Will just be the revenue and expenditures from last year, current year, and then next year corresponding tax rate at the bottom.
Yep.
Very simple. Just kind of sets our bones for the budget.
Yep. And that is going to be March 27th at 5:30. Okay. I think last year we had 1 or 2 people here, so we'll see what this. Any other questions on that? All right, we'll go to the next one. It's,
Salaries.
yeah. Yep,
Sure, I can speak to that. Pat can fill in my holes. As a finance committee member, Cassie Rockles and Pat Davis and I have worked on some of these stipulations. But essentially, the district received $41,766 in education support personnel funds. I think the total pot of money for the state was 15 million, somewhere around there. And that's kind of our district's money to work with. The intent is to supply a bolus or a bonus or however we choose to use it to our support staff. And so we've been working with different ways that could be a possibility. They're to be distributed to regular and part-time employees who are not salaried, so our ancillary, our support staff, bus drivers, associates and nutrition.
Secretaries.
Secretary.
what's our total numbers? Not to cut you off, do we know
Total pot that we got as a district,
the
41,000.
total number of that would be eligible
Oh.
for?
60, was it in the 60s?
Probably high 60s, and again, we're just kind of eyeballing stuff right now.
Yeah, it kind of comes down to kind of how we want to set the parameters too. So what we talked through so far is that for eligibility, you'd have to be employed as of 12/31/24 and have a signed offer for the current fiscal year, in addition to not being on an employee improvement plan. So that's kind of the status that would maybe put you into eligibility for it. And then we talked about so far a potential 2-tier schedule for that pot of money. If you're employed as far as scheduled 20 to 40 hours a week, that would be a determination of a certain percentage. Versus if you are less than 20 hours per week, that could be a second determination. And that we have to pull some money out for payroll taxes, so 7.65% of 41,000. And that's what we have so far. We'd like to bring it to the April meeting for voting, discussion and voting.
So just again, with background, when Governor Reynolds put minimum teacher salary at 50 and then 12 years experience at 60, a lot of people around the state were like, hey, what about teacher associates and others that work in the school? And so they started looking across Iowa and determined at minimum, they wanted everyone making $15 an hour. Since all of ours are above that, we got the money. They said, you know, since you don't have to apply it towards your salary schedule to get people up, distribute how you see fit as a board, as a district.
Do you see this kind of ongoing every year, or is this
No.
just a
No.
one-off? Okay.
Yeah.
And this is one-time money, not to salary.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
One time that IFRS eligible, and we just have to have it spent by the end of the year.
Okay,
Again, just to, they were up leveling everybody else.
Yeah.
And we're already leveled, and so
sure,
we get to decide.
perfect. Well, I think that's exciting. I'm happy that our support staff is being recognized, you know, obviously this. We need all those people to continue to help the school grow and function and equally as important as any other important. So,
Yeah. Make sure you work on that, good stuff.
yeah, thank you.
That's it for informational, right?
Yes.
We will go back kind of to the regular schedule here. Let's go for district reports, focus on learning.
And we,
Okay, third grade, we went, we did a science unit on structures of life from our class kit, and we went to Kirkwood. We had the opportunity, we extended that, went to a hydroponic lab, which was really cool. Next week, please, thank you. Okay, so in class, what we did is we learned just internally and externally all about all the structures and functions, like growth, survival, behavior, reproduction. We talked about skeleton systems, crayfish, seeds, plants. We took seeds, we made sprouters, and we germinated them, we got seedlings, we brought them over. This is kind of dark, sorry. but what it is, it's a tub, it's a hydroponic, and we made like our own little mini hydroponics. And we put minerals in there, kind of like a miracle grow, if you will, and water. Put our seedlings in there, just kind of tested that to see if it would grow. And lo and behold, it grew. And we learned they did need soil, so that was cool for them. So we now have, this is kind of distinct, now they're the adult plants, and we have tiny little buds up there, we're hoping for flowers. But, so then, go to the next slide, that took us to Kirkwood. And this was really cool. We went last couple weeks ago, and this whole greenhouse at Kirkwood was completely hydroponics. And it was awesome. And then they had plants everywhere, fruits, vegetables. And so like this system is all lettuce varieties. So the kids got to see how that worked, the root systems and the aeration of the water and minerals. Sorry, the pole was hard to talk. So, and then they got to tell them that all of these were taken and eaten at campus. So that was cool for them to see how it was used, not just in the science class. This is kind of blurry, but this is this is tomato plants back here. The root system started in a pot here, a couple pots, and the stems literally went around and around, and this is a plant up here, the fruits behind it of the tomatoes, but the stems are like this thick, and so that just showed the kids, like it just solidified how that cycle can continue on. So that was really neat for them to see that hands-on learning what we are doing in the classroom.
So we had lots of opportunities to kind of tour the greenhouse. They were able to see different kinds of growing systems. So here was kind of another pot with just lava rock on top of water and the nutrients supplemented. And they had just plants of all kinds. They had a giant aloe plant that, I mean, was enormous that they had had there for years. So just what's possible. It's been really great because we talk about regions of the United States as part of our social studies unit. We were able to make connections to like in the Southwest where it's really dry and hot, like even they're able to use this technology to grow so many varieties of things. So just how those things are possible given different ecosystems and soil conditions, the plant life can thrive in lots of different ways and how technology has allowed us to do those things. And then, so that was one rotation, just kind of touring the greenhouse and getting to see all they had to offer. There were many rooms, some were fruits and vegetables, some were exotic plants. We also had another station where they had a lot of rich soil we were able to get our hands into. And they actually allowed us to, they had little sprouts and tiny little starters, but they needed all moved over. So every kid was able to get a new kind of flat. And we were involved in that process of replanting them, looking at the strong root system. And then they moved those into their greenhouse and eventually go out into the community as well. So we were able to be a part of that. So it was just kind of fun to have. Even I think we talked about like how great it felt. It was during that really cold week to be in a hot environment, have our hands in dirt. Like we were so excited when we left, like, oh, it's getting closer. It was great for our students to just make the connection between the things we read about and the things we do in science and how they apply to the real world around us. So kind of that next level of, yes, on a larger scale, this is how it's utilized. We had through Ms. Kendallin, who does taste tests, learned a lot about too, the high school. It also has a hydroponic system and they are now growing some of the vegetables that are served at the high school. So my kids were like fascinated by the fact that, hey, we had a mini system, they've got a little bigger one, and then, hey, look at what's possible on this scale too. So it's kind of been fun and they've asked a lot of questions about like, hey, I wonder if we grew this lettuce or, you know, questioning where food's coming from. I also thought it was really great. I feel like COVID kind of killed a lot of these opportunities between connections with the community, us going out and having people in. And I feel like this year we've really kind of started to bring that back. We've got parents in the building more. These opportunities just, I think, allow students to see just the bigger scale. Like we learn about really cool things, but taking it to the next level and seeing how they can extend. Like we were working alongside students that were going to college there and people that had made a career out of this sort of life science. So I think having high schoolers myself, kind of the continuation of those steps, like we're kind of planting those seeds early by getting them out and making these connections between not only the disciplines in the school, but the things we're learning now and how they could use it in the future. So it was just kind of a really cool opportunity. We were there for just the morning, so lots of great learning and still had a full day when we got back. So, And thank you too. Melissa set that all up for us. It's wonderful. Great. Was your whole third grade able to take care of
Yeah,
that?
and it was only like an hour at time, so it's nice, because it's like a 15-minute drive, you know, so it's
Yeah.
short and convenient, and just, they were so good, and then an hour and.
I'm sure it was great for those Kirkland students too, to be able to show what they were learning. Yeah. It was good.
How, is this a first year with hydroponics or is?
We've always done this Austin instructions of life, it's kind of, you know, dipped into hydroponics a little bit.
Sure.
And then I got to thinking like, I'm sure Kirkwood has something, you know, just to get out and see, and so, not really what I expected, it's much better, so. Yeah. It's
Well,
exciting.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
very much.
thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for waiting for.
The
They could benefit you.
Yeah.
hydroponic got bigger. Okay, yeah, we'll skip over admin and go to board committee updates. Strategic plan, anything there?
Not specifically, Bussy just emailed me today about digging in a little bit, just looking at how much of our money goes out to people who leave the district. You know, and, just, she was interested in like, all right, why? You know, are there services we can provide here that we're not providing, you know, some of those
Oh,
things.
sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like-
yeah,
Like
yeah.
we want to keep as many people in
Yeah.
Solon as we can keep in Solon. And so that was just one of those like strategic plan things like, okay, what in everybody, every student that.
Yeah.
That enrolls out has a different story, obviously. And so just maybe delving into that a little bit, like, why? You know what I mean? And you know, because I knew sometimes it was a special ed thing. For a while, I know we had some people go out and a variety of different things and services we didn't offer or did offer or whatever, but. You know,
You're talking our students, not open enrolled students out, but our students that we, like, for instance, we send 19 or 20 to college community for FFA.
more like the students who live in town.
Yes.
Who choose to go elsewhere,
Okay, yeah,
right? So
Yeah.
why's that choice? And is there, I mean, I'm sure every one of those kids has a story we understand, but maybe we as a board don't understand.
mhm,
You know, what I mean, and some of those are choices, obviously, for reasons that are for a variety of different reasons, but maybe we look at those and
Yeah.
say, you know, what aren't we offering and what can we offer?
Yeah, just to analyze, is there a time
Right, for
that
sure,
we can pick up on?
for sure.
Yeah.
And especially in a community where we're currently not open enrollment, you know what I mean? That's
Mhm.
that negative for us, you know, so.
Capital projects, not much there, no real updates. SAS still on track, looking good.
yeah, they're putting carpet down now, and so they're getting close to. I mean, really getting into the
Mhm.
more finer details, the cleaner part of it.
Financial, yeah.
Yeah, financial, again, Cassie and I, worked with admin team on the supplemental funding and how that could be structured out. Through that bolus of money, which will happen again, vote next month. And then to be distributed in checks in May. Also. I was able to draw together kind of a status of the State of the Union on our capital projects. So if the board has visibility in consent agenda items under financial. So that basically shows us kind of with our capital monies, how it has gone out from, you know, fiscal year start of July 24 through currently. And all those expenditures, Pat, I'm sure most of those expenditures as far as capital are going to the SIS.
Majority, yeah, if you're looking
Construction
now,
project that have been
Larson,
going on this year,
correct.
yeah. So year to date sitting about where we thought we would be sitting.
So far, I've been, which you guys know, always looking for as far as getting most bang for the buck. So as interest rates fluctuate, obviously, I'm checking in with Davis with, hey, we're gonna move this here or there, just 2 percentage points on money makes a difference. So trying to bump it up as much as I can.
Yeah, and we got some bonuses from city interest.
Yep.
After
Sure
the
did.
year too, so. It's looking really on track.
Back to building, house Lakeview and all that, digging into that so far.
Yeah, we've had some really good meetings, with OPN and Larson, and where we're at is we did a thorough walkthrough, with architect, with a variety of engineers, from OPN and then Larson there. They took that back. They're in the design phase now. Our last meeting, we, rolled out the big map and actually talked about phasing, how we're gonna phase the building. And so we had Holly there for that with the idea, how do we minimize moving multiple times?
Right.
So the way we're doing our best to phase it is you may only have to move once. So we'll probably not do much this summer and start in this fall on the the west side of the media center. So that whole row of, we'll divide the media center and start that whole row. In mid-year, we'll switch over to the other. And then probably this summer, we'll do in the middle, the media center itself and the gym, and then we'll be done with that wing. And so then we're kind of phasing it like that over, it'll be a year, a summer, possibly maybe into the fall.
So maybe almost 2 years.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, we are like parking and all the drop off and all that stuff's part of this conversation.
It really is. Yep. We just had a meeting with the city as we were gonna get started this summer. And when they went to show plans to the city for permitting and all that stuff, they caught us off guard with a project that they were thinking about with the street right there. What is it, 382? Is that the highway there? Yeah. Where they're looking at Racine, Chobble, and then up a little bit by the library that has that funny turn. So it's chopped up there. They had an engineer draw up a plan to where the street that comes down by the Freedom Rock on the other side of that highway, they would come out and then cross the street and go directly into our parking lot as a street. Yeah. So we waved the red flags hard on that and had a meeting with the city and just told them all the reasons that will not work. That will not work. And so we gave them some other ideas that they're going back to the drawing board to see how our ideas would work. So
could that impact our summer start for outside work?
not well, in a way, yes. We were planning on digging in to that side. But what we'll probably end up doing is just going to the west side and putting that bus lane in. So not a lot of work will be done this summer because that bus lane won't take, that's a smaller project.
Sure.
So,
They can do that in summer.
yeah.
What are they
Yeah.
giving us for kind of timeline to get back with a revised plan on what they want to do?
Well, we told them that probably within a week we need to know because again, the timeline that we have, OPN, their plan is to turn over their design, I believe, March 28th, so that Larson can go through it and kind of put their eyes on it.
So are they gonna talk, the engineers gonna talk to each other? Or are we gonna?
Yeah,
Okay.
OPN has civil engineers that are having the conversations.
With the city.
Yes, yes. And the city's engineer and OPN's engineers, civil engineers were both in the meeting with us so that we could.
And they realize the timeline, not that they miss timelines. But
Yes.
Nope. Not for this meeting.
Natalie has 500 series on my desk, so
It'll be on the next one.
that's.
That's a summer project.
She reminds me every other day, it's on my desk.
Next week,
Yes.
the big one.
Consent agenda items.
The only thing I noticed that was strange on one of the claims, we have to pay someone to inspect our buses, $1,500.
The state,
Right,
yes, yes.
we have to pay them.
Twice a year.
Yeah, twice a year.
Cost of doing business.
I guess, we got our own guy, we don't need to.
Yep.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion by Coons.
Second.
Second by Lang. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, none, motion carries. Action items.
Text,
No.
thank you. I want to get in trouble.
First action item, set public hearing for the fiscal year 26 budget. And we've got that
It's set up for the 27th, right?
27th at 5:30.
This one will be for the April 17th board meeting. That'll be
Okay.
the second public hearing.
Okay,
So,
Kind of the normal one, if you think about it. It used to be our normal one. So this will be the second one, which should be at your April meeting.
okay, so just the regular April meeting.
Yep, so just need that set.
so the first, okay,
Yep.
Okay, so I can move to do that.
yep,
I move to set the second public budget hearing for fiscal year 26 for April 17th. Thanks.
At 5:30 PM. Perfect.
5:30 p.m.
All right.
Second.
Motion by Lang, second by Coons. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, none. Motion carries. Fiscal year 24 audit.
I make a motion to approve the fiscal year 24 audit as presented.
I just have one question.
Yeah.
Because we were,
Right.
no, you're good,
That's right.
you're good. We're running out of auditors,
Yes.
right? What's gonna happen?
I'm actually going to send usually RFP, since we have her for current fiscal year and we have her for next. In most cases, I would probably be like mid-year of 26 and go, okay, I'll send it out, probably this summer, I'm gonna gather everything, and then it's probably gonna be early fall at the latest. I'm gonna be coming with an RFP if I want it back. There's very little firms that are doing it, and obviously if they're far away, unless they have people that they're coming to see, we're not gonna get those, but I send them out anyway. Last time I think we either did 8 or 9 of them,
Yeah, I got one.
one back.
Right.
And that's just kind of what's going on. So I'm trying to keep ahead of the game. I've heard of a couple of them that you actually have to make a phone call and kind of plead your case, if you will, and then say, we're gonna send you an RFP, please make sure that you bid on it. So
Will they change the guidelines if there are no people to fill in?
I'm wondering if that would be forthcoming as far as, what they've done as far as bus drivers, as far as sub teachers, as potentially audit services, these positions too. Really same thing. It's time to do this, so.
Wow.
Yeah. But yes, that's kind of on my early docket to get those out, so we can hopefully get somebody on board for 27 and beyond. Great question.
Second,
Motion by Lang, second by Coons. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, none. Motion carries. Moving on, Iowa Local Government Risk Pool, natural gas contract fiscal year 26.
Can I just ask a question as a newbie? This is, I definitely understand why our amount has risen, we have more buildings to supply to. Remind me, we are paying now for the year ahead, we prepaid, is that? And
Yep.
we get the rate we are because it's.
Yep, they lock it in,
Full
so like the 81,000 roughly, so let's say that natural gas fluctuates up. They don't come back at us and say, hey,
Got you.
yeah, or obviously the other way, if it's under.
That was the
come
question,
say,
if it was
hey, here's
gonna be
your-
reconciling or if it's
Yeah, so it's just, I think that was twofold. So one good thing is obviously taking money out of the general, putting it over management, so those dollars, plus it's a set dollar amount, we just know that's what it is, there's no up or down, it's just that, so.
And a few years ago when we did that, energy costs were skyrocketing. And so at the time, it was a good move. Do you think still in favor of this kind of method to control prices?
So far, yes. Kind of analyze it every year and take a look at it. And this year was just like you said, we have additional facilities on there. We added 2 meters at the transportation building. They know that there's going to be additional square footage at the intermediate building, so that may next year, as far as intermediate, impact that as well. But it's kind of every year analyze. And right now, $80,000 over here versus 80,000 here, where we could use that help. So this for next year, I think it's a good thing.
So, okay.
Yeah.
So Pat, when you look at this, do you, you'd be like, okay, if we just paid ourselves versus if we were part of this? I mean, I could see how we flip a year, but I think if we start in 2 or 3 years, you know, that's gonna be, you know, and when we made this decision, we were like, energy costs were sky high and the pool risk was better. What would be interesting, I think, for the board at some point in time is when we black and we red with this agreement this year.
Actually, I can send that to you guys. I'm pretty sure when they send us the information, they kind of show, like last year, you paid X, here's what actually you should have paid.
Yeah,
So
those would be just.
yeah, I can
interesting
send that
things.
to you. That's a great question, but I think it's kind of one of those things. We don't have to do it annually. So if we decide not to move forward next year, or let's say we do next year and after that, look at it and go, not quite adding it up, you can.
But the pool allows us to use management,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That's the other benefit.
which is an advantage.
Yes,
too.
and if
Yeah,
we
yeah.
change the amount, then that
Yeah.
80,000
Right.
would go back against the general.
But it's still just be interesting information.
Agreed. Yeah, no
You
great
know, I
question.
mean, we don't use management. It's takes it out of the. General,
Great question. I will send that out.
I did not.
okay,
Your turn.
my turn. Let me go back, so it's kind of read it. Motion to approve the local government risk pool contract for 50
Second motion.
All right, motion by Coon, second by Lang. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Pose none, motion carries. Moving on, bond council and disclosure engagement agreement.
This is just an agreement with Ehlers. They serve as our bond and disclosure counsel during the bond process. So first piece has already happened, which is continuing disclosure. Basically an hour phone call with Ehlers, and all they do is go through all pieces of our finances, just ask where ratios are at, where they've been, where they're going, enrollment, all those fun things. Are there any anomalies they need to be aware of that aren't out there right now that an investor would potentially look at, and it would change things? So first piece is done. And the next piece will be next month. We have the phone call with Moody's, the rating service, they'll rate our bonds.
You ever do projected enrollment, like with housing and all that? I mean.
We did some studies a few years ago, but nothing
oh,
for this.
Yeah,
houses. You know, that obviously makes us more appealing than if we're a shrinking community. Yeah, I don't know if that makes an impact or not.
And when we do the bond call, they will ask questions. That's a great thing to talk about, is they do ask the question, okay, I can see your moment last year and the prior year, we had small dips. So kind of talk us through that. So then it's in there, it's in our audit too. I made that first one in there that we believe coming up, then we're going to
Yeah.
start to do this, not
Yeah.
but this.
Well, that was my thinking. If you just look at us and not understand the story,
Exactly.
it looks like we're taking down.
You had some of those open enrolled
Right, correct.
falling off, yeah, bigger grades.
And I think we may have, if I'm looking at correctly, we may have the same Moody's service advisor again, who knows kind of our situation, knows our audit, knows all those things. So last year when we were talking, it kind of made it clear that, hey, just so you know, next October, our enrollment's probably going to be down. And the reason is senior class to kindergarten class. So they're kind of heads up, and it came in lower than what I told them. So even better.
Well, there's a reason why we're building.
Right.
Yes, not just-
100%, no, but I just, you know. They don't always see that. on a piece of paper.
No.
I motion to approve the bond council and disclosure council engagement agreement as presented.
Second,
Motion by Lang, second by Coons. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, none. Motion carries. Moving on to talking points. Let's start with Megan.
Okay. Near and dear to my heart was the SCF, Solon Foundation. It was a really great mission, and I think they really lived it through, and while sunsetting is not what anybody wants to see, it's kind of honestly honoring to the mission.
for sure.
You know, when they didn't have enough stuff behind
Mhm.
it to push it through. So I think they're gonna do a great job. I'm super excited to see what kind of projects they come up with. Like legacy projects, you know, that can be used for the next round of kids ad nauseum ahead. And then again, I would like to focus as a board on identifying those gaps maybe going forward and seeing, you know, how we can be creative and still supportive of, you know, the outside of the regular curriculum type connection projects that brought a lot of value.
It would be interesting since I don't know how much per year about was being given out.
While I was there, it was between probably $9,000 and $13,000 a year.
Significant.
Was that based off of like a 5% distribution or what was
It
it?
was usually around that year, CDs they had, you know,
Mhm.
coming up at the time. They did a phenomenal job of managing it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's
Well,
continue
it's
to
been
grow.
great. The years they're talking about, great years for things to grow, you know,
Mhm.
financially. So, as you know,
It's been good.
so,
You wanna go next?
yeah, I thought it was pretty exciting, you know, to see kids getting out, getting their fingers dirty, being able to go on a bus and, go someplace, you know, that field trips I still remember as a kid and going and doing those sort of things. It was, I think it was third grade, right? Third grade kids go. And just the other thing is, honestly, is like what little resources don't we understand, like, oh, this whole hydroponics thing we didn't even know existed. And
Yeah.
what other avenues can we find for our kiddos to, you know, the school of Wow has been very successful. If they can stay out of the ticks. But yeah, I thought that was pretty exciting.
All right.
I thought the hydroponics stuff was cool for the characters, it's really fun and all. Yeah, I kind of agree, I always like going on field trips and kind of like getting out of the classroom. I kind of learn better, like seeing things and being hands-on better than listening.
I think the educational support, kind of that extra salary here, the little bonus that we can give out. I'm interested to see what you guys come up with, and I think it's always great to support our staff in any way, shape, or form. So hopefully they're excited for it. Other than that, we've got the next regular board meeting. We're gonna meet on the 27th at 5:30, and then the other one will be, what do we say, April 17th, 5:30. So with that, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Well, do adjourn.
Motion by Coons, second by Lang. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, none. Motion adjourned.